Leaders from India and the United States meet often. They frequently praise their growing strategic partnership. Handshakes are firm for the cameras, smiles are wide, and declarations grand. They speak of shared democratic values, and the future of this relationship is painted brightly. But is this the complete picture, or is there more to it? Beneath this polished surface, significant issues persist. Hidden agendas and unspoken calculations may well be present. The risk of manipulation in such a power dynamic is real. Clear instances of double standards can be observed. These represent the uncomfortable, darker truths of the engagement. The United States clearly uses India strategically, especially concerning China. Technology transfers crucial for India's development are notably limited. India finds itself increasingly dependent on American armaments. Diplomatic expectations between the two nations often differ greatly. We must look beyond the carefully scripted official statements. It is vital to understand the real, unvarnished dynamics at play. Is this burgeoning relationship one of true, equitable friendship? Or is it primarily a partnership of convenience for the current geopolitical climate? The United States views China's rapid rise with considerable concern. India, due to its size and location, is seen as a key player. It is positioned as a democratic counterweight in Asia. This strategic view enjoys broad bipartisan support within the U.S. India's geographical proximity to China makes it vital. This China factor is undeniably a crucial element. It drives a great deal of the bilateral cooperation. Positive rhetoric flows easily when China is the unspoken subject. Numerous defense deals are signed with this context in mind. India increasingly becomes a strategic piece on the global chessboard. This is primarily for advancing U.S. objectives in the Indo-Pacific region. Are India's national interests truly and fully aligned with this role? Or is India, perhaps inadvertently, serving U.S. strategic goals more? India has its own complex foreign policy objectives. Sometimes these priorities diverge from those of the U.S. Being perceived or utilized as a strategic pawn carries inherent risks. United States foreign policy priorities can, and do, change over time. India must navigate this complex terrain with utmost caution. India is now a major purchaser of sophisticated U.S. weaponry. Billions of dollars are consistently spent on American defense equipment. Defense and security ties are officially deepening each year. The U.S. has become one of India's top arms suppliers. This creates a strong, tangible link between the two nations. But this linkage is not necessarily one of equals. Despite these large-scale purchases, critical technology transfer remains severely limited. The United States is willing to sell advanced military hardware. However, the core, underlying technology is often kept secret. India has repeatedly expressed its desire for this advanced technology. This lack of meaningful tech sharing is a major sticking point. Growing frustration on the Indian side is palpable. The Make in India initiative requires access to cutting-edge know-how. True self-reliance in defense production remains an elusive goal. Without access to core technologies, progress is slow. India's domestic defense industrial base continues to lag. This growing dependence on U.S. arms has far-reaching consequences. India's strategic autonomy can be subtly yet significantly reduced. A very careful and strategic path forward is essential. A significant stream of Indian talent consistently flows towards the United States. Indian students contribute billions of dollars annually to the American economy. Highly skilled Indian tech workers are a vital part of Silicon Valley. This phenomenon is a well-known and acknowledged fact. Yet, these talented individuals often face considerable challenges and uncertainties. Indian students typically have very limited post-study work rights. Tech workers from India frequently grapple with visa insecurities. The fear of policy changes or visa denials is ever present. This situation naturally causes a great deal of stress and anxiety. Many hope for more stable and welcoming immigration policies. Is this a debilitating brain drain for India, or is the United States primarily benefiting from cheap skilled labor? Both sides of this argument have valid and compelling points. India undeniably feels the multifaceted impact of this talent migration. The loss of highly skilled individuals can hurt domestic innovation. The influential Indian diaspora also offers considerable soft power benefits. There are no easy or straightforward answers to this dilemma. The United States often has clear geopolitical expectations of India. It desires India to align closely with its stance on global issues. This is particularly true concerning strategic rivals like Russia and China. This subtle and sometimes overt pressure is a constant factor. India feels this pressure keenly in its diplomatic engagements. Conversely, official U.S. positions can sometimes be notably vague or non-committal. This is often the case on issues considered vital to India's core interests. Examples include sensitive border disputes with its neighbors or its historically complex relationship with Pakistan. The U.S. often avoids taking clear, decisive stands on these matters. This perceived lack of reciprocity understandably frustrates New Delhi. A distinct sense of imbalance in expectations often pervades the relationship. India, for its part, consistently strives to maintain its strategic autonomy. It actively engages with a multitude of nations and power centers. This multi-alignment is a cornerstone of India's foreign policy. It sometimes clashes directly with specific U.S. preferences or objectives. Recent international events have unfortunately caused additional strain. Serious allegations of Indian complicity in assassination plots have emerged. Trust, once damaged, can be very difficult to erode. The strategic partnership between India and the U.S. continues to grow stronger. High-value defense deals are becoming increasingly common and substantial. Yet despite this deepening engagement, the U.S. frequently raises concerns. These concerns revolve around human rights issues within India. Questions about democratic norms and minority rights are also voiced. This pattern of commentary happens quite often in official reports. It remains a highly sensitive topic in bilateral discussions. India, quite naturally, sees these observations from a different perspective. Such comments are often viewed as unwelcome interference in its internal affairs. They are sometimes perceived as instances of American hypocrisy. This is particularly so given U.S. foreign policy actions elsewhere in the world. The principle of national sovereignty is held paramount by New Delhi. India robustly defends its human rights record and democratic credentials. This divergence creates an undeniably awkward and persistent dynamic. Shared strategic needs and geopolitical compulsions pull the two nations closer. But these differences over values and internal governance create noticeable gaps. This underlying friction is undeniable and cannot be wished away. Are these stated U.S. concerns genuinely rooted in democratic values? Or are they sometimes employed as a diplomatic pressure tool? It is a complex and challenging issue with no easy resolution. The United States government often exerts pressure on India. This pressure is frequently aimed at banning or restricting Chinese technology. The popular app TikTok was a prominent example of this. National security risks are the primary justification cited for such actions. This is clearly part of a much larger, global strategy. A fierce competition for technological supremacy is underway worldwide. China is viewed by the U.S. as its main technological rival. India, with its vast market, is a key battleground. Yet there is an interesting paradox in this situation. American big tech companies overwhelmingly dominate India's digital market. Firms like Google, Meta, and Amazon have a massive presence. They control vast amounts of Indian user data. This near monopoly presents its own set of complex issues. Is this overwhelming American dominance inherently better for India? India's positions on digital trade often deviate from global norms of liberalization. The debate over data localization is a key example. The future path of India's digital economy remains unclear. The United States consistently champions the cause of democracy globally. It frequently states this as a core tenet of its foreign policy. However, its actions on the world stage can sometimes differ. The U.S. has a history of supporting non-democratic regimes. This often happens when its strategic or economic interests align with such support. This apparent contradiction creates a strong perception among many nations. It is often seen as a clear and undeniable double standard. Many countries, including allies and adversaries, take note of this. We can observe examples of this in India-US relations too. The CAATSA sanctions waiver for India is a case in point. This waiver was related to India's S-400 missile defense system deal. This decision clearly demonstrates a pragmatic approach. Realpolitik, the politics of practical reality, was clearly at play. Trade disputes between the two nations are also quite common. The U.S. often objects to India's perceived protectionist measures. India, on the other hand, currently enjoys a trade surplus with the U.S. This leads to ongoing tension and difficult negotiations in the trade sphere. National interests almost invariably come first for all states. Pragmatism and self-interest tend to rule the day. The official narrative surrounding India-US relations is overwhelmingly positive. It speaks of a strong, vibrant, and constantly growing partnership. Leaders from both nations affirm this optimistic view at every opportunity. However, underlying issues and uncomfortable realities are undeniably real. The strategic utilization of India, particularly concerning China, is evident. Technological dependence on the US remains a significant concern for India. The flow of valuable human talent is largely unbalanced. Diplomatic expectations between the two democracies are often unevenly matched. Clear instances of double standards in policy application do exist. Is it a genuine friendship, deeply rooted in shared democratic values? Or is it primarily a partnership of strategic opportunism? This remains the core and most critical question for policymakers. A healthy dose of realism is now essential for both sides. We must all learn to look beyond the grand statements and photo opportunities. The future of this relationship depends on such clarity. Like and subscribe for more.